You are now listening to Between Us Girls, the podcast, where we discuss life's fuckeries and then some over wine.
Show. This is Michel,
Danielle,
Jen,
and this is
Between Us Girls.
If you're tuning in for the first time, we want to say thank you, and you can always find us on social media, Instagram, Between Us Girls Podcast, Facebook, Between Us Girls, the podcast, Twitter, @Girl Talkin' Wine, and you can listen to our show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and any other podcast listening apps. Our fan of the week this week is none other than Justin Ruff.
Woohoo, Justin!
We found him on Twitter, and he travels everywhere with us. He is in our Facebook group, and he literally promotes our show at least twice a day on Twitter.
Awesome.
So shout out to podcast groupie number 1.
Right. We love you, Justin.
We love
love you.
And I would also like to shout out our number two, Patreon contributors, supporters, Shaky Britt and Demez White.
Thank you so much for supporting us.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so today our panel topics are facing your fears and following your dreams. That just made me think about the Michael Jackson American Dream movie when he sang that Climb Every Mountain song.
I thought you was going to go into Dream Girls. I'm really
If
surprised.
I would have worn that wig, I was going to channel Dina Jones all night.
What wig?
Oh, I'll show it to you later.
Oh, God.
Okay, so this week we have a really special guest. We have Ilana Levine. She's an actress, stage and screen, a producer and podcaster. Her show, Little Known Facts, is a great show that gets actors to share little known facts. She's interviewed John Slattery. For those who don't know, he is Roger Sterling on Mad Men, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Michelle is completely obsessed.
Yes. And recently she interviewed Judith Light, the mom from Who's the Boss?
My mom.
Right.
My mom
From those
also.
who don't know. Yes.
Between her and Claire, I was.
You were ready?
Yes.
You
Her
were
and Claire,
totally covered?
Yes. Okay.
And we're just so thrilled to have her with us. We're going to switch things up and put her in the interview seat and find out some little known facts about her. Welcome, Ilana.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
We're happy to have you. Your voice is so soothing. I feel like I'm resting in the bosom of my mom.
Wow. I don't think there could be any higher praise.
Yeah, I feel so. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She's so chill.
She is.
She's like an edible personified.
An edible, really? Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's what I'm going to be for Halloween. I will be an edible.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's a few months away, but
You're
it's
ready?
good to know in advance. I'm going to start sewing that costume. It'll be like a caramel, right? It'll be like one of those.
Like a little sweet candy that just hits you. It's like, oh yeah. Okay, sorry to go off on a tangent. Before we get into the interview and our little known facts, what are we sipping on?
So we are sipping on a wine suggested by Alonda today. It is Whispering Angels. It is, I can't read this.
Okay, let me try.
Can you see it?
Okay, so I talked to Ilana on Twitter, and she suggested Whispering Angel by Cave d'Escalons.
What?
I don't know. Can you tell us how to say it?
French is a little rusty.
All you need to know is that it's a rosé called Whispering Angel, and it is delicious. Don't you agree?
It's pretty good. We're
very
enjoying
refreshing.
it. The bottle
It
is
makes
also
me
beautiful.
feel like it's summer no matter what month of the year we're in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So
And isn't the color pretty? Like even just the color of
The
the
bottle
wine
is
so
beautiful.
beautiful. It looks like a sunset in a bottle.
It does. I love the
does. That's a
presentation.
pretty
Everything's
pink.
really nice about it. Does it say what the vintage is on there, Danielle?
It is 2016, and there is 13% alcohol in here, so turn up.
Okay.
And we will be rating this on appearance, aroma, body, finish, and taste. We will score it from 0 to 25 and give our details at the end.
Okay.
All right. I really hope you like it because I really thought about you beautiful women and what you might like, and I'm hoping that you enjoy it as much as I do.
Okay.
Definitely going to drink it.
Yeah. Glasses
You
up.
know what? At the end of the day, after the second glass, it doesn't matter what you're drinking,
right,
right? Like it all
right,
starts
right.
tasting
So
the
glad
same.
you know that.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Ilana, are you ready to get into our little known facts?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I feel like I should be blindfolded.
Wait, we might be getting into some uncharted
S&M.
some uncharted territory here.
That's my other Halloween costume.
Oh! A spicy edible. Okay. Okay, so what made you start the Little Known Facts podcast?
I had an opportunity that was handed to me to try my hand at podcasting. And literally, a friend of mine absorbed a podcast company into his suite of offices. And we were talking, and he was like, "You have such a great voice, and you're so interested in people. Have you ever thought about it?" And I said, I love podcasts so much. The idea of doing one myself had never occurred to me, but as a storyteller and a performer and someone who sort of always loved, I've done a bunch of audiobooks, so I was very comfortable being in a recording booth. And mostly the idea that I could go to work and not worry about what I look like, which is an actress. As an actress, it's something you spend a lot of time worrying about. So the idea that I didn't have to worry about hair or makeup or what I was wearing and that I could just concentrate on the work felt like a really great opportunity. So between not wanting to look at myself and someone having this podcast recording booth made available to me, I thought I would try it. And then, they say when you're a beginner writer, you should write what you know as a place to begin. And I thought, okay, as a beginning podcaster, what do I know? And I thought, well, I know actors. I've been doing it for 25 years. That has become my chosen family as an adult when you get to choose your friends. Almost everyone in my community is an artist and an actor. And I thought, well, who would come in and give their time to me? And when you mentioned John Slattery in the introduction, he was my first friend. I've known John. He and his wife have been my friends for 20 years now. His wife was the maid of honor at my wedding,
Wow.
Talia Balsam, who now stars on Divorce with Sarah Jessica Parker on HBO.
You love
Oh, we
that,
like her
Danielle.
too.
He was my first, and he paid me a very high compliment. I realized it was a compliment. At first, I wasn't sure how to take it, but he's like, "You're like a female Howard Stern." And I sat with that for a minute, and I thought, oh, you know what? Howard Stern is very good at what he does.
Mhm.
I had sort of hoped more to be like a Terry Gross from NPR style, but I took. And I think it's Malcolm Gladwell who said, luck and 10,000 hours is what makes for success. And I feel like I've been very lucky with the incredible level of guests that have been willing to come on my show. And slowly over the last year, I am getting enough hours under my belt of doing it where I've become more and more confident as a host, having been a guest for many years, kind of do from the other side of the table. So now being a guest today on your show it's so funny to me how awkward I feel.
Really?
Being back in the guest seat. Yeah.
Oh.
I want to interview you guys.
It's the one thing that I love about podcasts is that you can do it without having to wear pants.
Oh,
Like-
wow. I guess you could
We're
do it in your
excited to
panties.
listen
today.
I mean, if you really had to, you could definitely
You
do
could-
it in your underwear
Right.
or
But
naked.
I'm not quite sure
I don't- yeah.
our sound engineer
Would be okay with
would
that.
be
Yeah.
okay with me coming over here pants. She's shaking her head no.
No.
Right.
She
She
wants
wouldn't
me
be
to wear
okay with that.
pants.
Right.
It's true. But sometimes we actually do videotape and do clips of the interview and put them up on YouTube. And so, but it's true. We could just, film from atop of the desk.
Right.
As opposed to under the, you're right. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
In fuzzy socks and granny panties.
Oh my God.
Period panties and fuzzy
Wait,
socks.
See, you're going too far
you
left.
went too far
Okay.
there.
All right, Ilana, who's been your favorite guest that you have interviewed?
Ooh, Michelle, that is a hard question. That would be like asking me which child I love the most.
I can tell you which child of mine I like.
Oh, Jen.
I'm kidding. I love them both.
It's like I would pick one. I would put
know.
to save on a boat.
I would say, I'll say I interviewed my husband on the show,
Yeah.
Dominic Famusa, who is a wonderful actor and a wonderful husband. And any opportunity I have to work with him, because that's how we met, is kind of a great day. And it was the hardest one to do. It's not like I could pretend I didn't know him, right? Like I've been married to him for a very long time. And I was very nervous. I wanted him to think I was good at it. And I also wanted to figure out a way to approach it where I would actually find out new little known facts about him. And it turned out to be a genuinely good interview. And I don't know, it has a special place in my heart.
That's really cute.
That was actually
I'll tell you when we're done recording who really my favorite is, though. But that was
that
Go
was
ahead.
actually my
that's
favorite
Broderick,
one.
duh. Yeah.
I just want to say that I was a little bit excited to see his name in my Skype. I was like, I totally have a Skype connection with a celebrity.
You could sell Dominic Skype on eBay now.
I know. I would never, but I could.
Forget Patreon. You don't need it anymore.
Exactly.
You're smart. How do you feel about potential rejection being in the limelight? Does it make you feel some type of way?
Well, I would take the word potential out of that sentence. Obviously, there's the thing that's been really heartening and eye-opening about doing a podcast where I interview really, really successful actors is how much of the time for all of us, me who's somewhere in the middle of it all, and for them, that is just 99% of the job. That most of the time you create a fully realized character that you show to the director or the writer or the producer of a project, and most of the time someone else ends up doing it. And it is it's really one of the strangest things. I don't even know how to speak about it, to kind of set out knowing that for most of your life, you're not going to get to do what you love to do for the small amounts of time that you do. And obviously, it's really different now because of YouTube. I mean, YouTube didn't exist when I started out. There was no way to create your own work and get it out there instantaneously for the world to see, or at least your mother to see, right? There was just not as many opportunities. So the landscape is so different now for people starting out. They can constantly create and do their own work without needing permission or to be hired. But for me, or anyone in their 40s, that just wasn't the case in terms of how you got work. I feel like, they always say, and I don't know if this is really great advice or not, but if there is anything else that you can think of doing other than being an actor, do it.
Oh.
That's kind of the first thing they say to you, on day one of any, acting program that you go into, literally, if you can even think of one thing, please leave this room and go do it and save yourself a lifetime of despair.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you can figure out how to make a living either doing your art or doing something else and continuing to do your art, you're going to have a really happy life. Not in every way, but certainly deep in your soul. So for creative people, there doesn't seem to be a choice. It is what you have to do. Because you wouldn't do it otherwise. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It
definitely.
makes a lot of sense. And it actually reminds me of our friend Fernando.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
how he was saying, like, you have to do that one thing that you're like extremely passionate about, and you just cannot worry about the money, because if you're always going towards your passion, the money will come.
Right.
Like
Eventually.
whatever it is that you want, you'll draw that energy to you, and you'll get everything that you need. That's what it reminded me of.
Right, because you'll put so much effort into it. You'll be so good at it.
Yeah.
Because you just love it so much.
The sacrifice.
It's
yeah.
the sacrifice
Yeah.
and the love that you
Yeah.
put into it that just, I mean, it just makes it grow.
Right.
Right.
It'll have to.
It's like the law of attraction, but like you don't have to work at it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what was your worst audition?
So, this was one of my first auditions. So we're talking a very long time ago, and I can remember it. I mean, I think this happened 20 years ago, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was auditioning for a play, and in the play, the part that I was auditioning for, the girl had a condom that she handed to the other person in the scene. And I remember thinking, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring one. I'm going to bring a condom, and I'm going to put it in my pocket, and then I'm going to pull it out of my pocket during the scene, and I'm going to hand it to the person that I'm reading with, as if oh, she has her own condom. Let's hire her. Oh, good, because we didn't have it in our budget. I don't know. I was really fixated on I'm going to bring a prop.
Just one little detail.
It's so silly when I even say it out loud now, but I did the audition, and when it came to getting the condom out of my pocket, it got stuck. For some reason it got stuck, and I couldn't do it. I wasn't going to fiddle with it and kind of ruin the entire scene. Right. So I didn't do it. And I walked out of the room so upset that this great moment I had planned didn't happen, that I actually turned around uninvited, walked back into the room where the audition had just happened. They're all startled to see me again because I had just left. And I take the condom and I hand it to the director. And I said,
That's so ballsy.
Here's the condom.
Oh my God.
In the scene, but it got stuck in my pocket, and it was but it was going to be really good. This thing that I was going to do. And
oh my God. I can't believe you walked back in.
And he just looked at me like, you are insane. And, I have probably had much worse auditions since. I'm sure the scene itself was fine. I just came in and seemed so insane. So much of acting is not only doing a good job in the audition, but is this someone we want to work with? Right. Is this someone we want to spend a lot of time developing material with? Is this a sane person that we would enjoy creating this play with? And so I completely undid whatever good I had done. And for what
here's the condom.
I still think about that, because what it reeked of was desperation.
Yeah.
Just so desperate. And it was so it still makes me sad to this day that I never put the period on the end of that sentence in a proper way.
Yeah.
I can't.
And now anytime I see a condom,
you're reminded of this awful audition where you're like,
don't use them. Too upsetting. Exactly.
Oh gosh.
I just can't believe you walked back in.
I mean, I can imagine doing that and just being like, you know what? I'm just going to go back in here and I'm going to tell him exactly how I feel, and I'm going to give him this condom. And
Right, but it had nothing to do with anything. It wasn't listen, I really wish in that first moment, I had sung, nothing. It doesn't matter. It was irrelevant. It was just, it was about feeling like I hadn't done what I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there are a million
She's reliving it now.
Let's not go back. Let's move forward.
Right. Let's move forward. Okay. So here's our next question. Whose career would you steal out of all the people everywhere?
Whose what?
Whose career would you steal, acting career?
Wow. That's a great question. So there was a woman who her episode hasn't aired yet, or maybe it will. I'm not sure when our episode will air. There's an actress named Celia Keenan-Bolger who is not a household name. You probably, wouldn't know who she is unless you went online and Googled her after we spoke. But if you go online, she has done one unbelievable play or musical. So that she can go back and forth between those two genres, which is very unusual. Either you're a musical theater performer, a Broadway star, a film like there's not a lot of moving around from genre to genre. And she has done musical after musical and play after play, each one more groundbreaking than the next. And no one knows who she is, which means she has a completely normal life.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's a passionate political activist. She's a mom. She's one of the most creative, beautiful people I've ever met. So articulate, and just gets to go to work without all of the nonsense that comes along with celebrity. I don't know if she wishes for a more public life or not, but when I looked at her resume and the level of work she has been doing consistently, I thought, wow, that's kind of dreamy. I mean, there are Sarah Jessica Parker maybe is the TV version of something I would love to do, but her life is really big and she doesn't have privacy. I think she handles it magnificently. So that's another person whose work I admire so much, and I admire her so much as a person, but her personal life isn't completely her own anymore.
Yeah.
That was something that we were talking about the other day, just like about the limelight. Like, I would not be able to deal with it. Like, I probably would be Britney Spears.
Oh, shame
with
to
the mix
that.
all bad. Like, going nuts. Like,
You'd be dating your backup dancers.
Yeah.
because they're sexy, right?
And they're normal.
And
they're
normal.
totally not celebrity at all. So I don't know what the
But
heck
then
she
they
was
would
thinking.
like worship you because you are who you are. So
Well, that just made the paparazzi follow her more. Like, what the
Right.
hell is she doing?
I don't know, but I feel like I would have a breakdown, like with the clippers and everything. Like
just
that would
shave
be
everything
me
off.
if I was in the limelight like that. Like I wouldn't be able to deal with that.
I think I would love it. I always wanted to be a
You would just be
Broadway
like,
star.
okay, photograph me
Yes.
here.
I did.
And she would be
I
singing
did.
every time they saw her.
I
And-
wanted to be a star on the stage. I used to be in the kitchen, and my mom would be like, "Can you leave the room?" Because I would get a broom and I would just overdo it.
Oh
And
my God.
she
So
was
you
like,
would sing
"I'm
into
sick
the
of this."
room? Is
Yeah.
that- oh.
You would-
And
Can you
spin-
sing? Michelle, do you have a good voice?
I think so, but they don't.
She does. We just
the
kind of
thing
cut her
about
time
her
off.
Her singing is not bad. She doesn't know when to stop.
Yes.
That's what she got us fucked up at.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Don't we all need to learn that though? Like when to stop?
Yes. Thank you. Alana, I feel like I need to come and be your best friend. I appreciate you.
She's like, no, thank you.
Come to New York.
I will come. Actually, I'm planning a trip to New York soon, so I'll
Oh,
hit you up. when
good. I
I'm
hope
there.
you'll look me up.
Of course.
Okay, good.
Okay, so next question. What is a little known fact about you?
A little known fact about me is that my first career dream was to sell cars.
Really?
What? Why?
A car salesman? Like Ted Danson in Coming to America? Well, no, that wasn't Coming to
No, that
America. What
wasn't
was the
Coming
name
to
of that movie?
What?
Remember with Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson, and they had the daughter that was mixed race?
Oh, I know
You know
what
what I'm
movie you're
talking
talking
about?
about, but
Yeah.
I
Wasn't
don't
he a
remember.
car salesman?
I don't.
Okay,
don't
anyway,
know, but-
continue. Sorry.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it was because when I was a kid, like, what's the one thing all adults can do that you can't do is drive, right? So
Yeah.
first of all, it just seemed like you're a grown up when you're driving. I was obsessed with cars. I thought they were beautiful. I knew every make, model, year. I was obsessed with cars. And for whatever reason, that was my dream, that I could be someone that was around cars all the time. I mean, this is not an interesting, you didn't ask for an interesting little known fact.
no,
You
no,
just asked-
no.
I mean, that is interesting.
actually
We would
think
never,
this is-
yes.
This
No,
is
I
perfect.
think this is interesting because, for one, when you think of a car salesman, you think of somebody that's like trying to swindle you out of money. So now I'm wondering about your character.
I know. Isn't that funny? I don't think as a kid I understood that was actually considered one of the slimiest careers that you could go into. And to this day, I get anxious, like whenever we need to trade in our car. I'm like, I know I'm walking into a situation where any number they say yes to, I am paying too much.
Yeah.
If they, by the very virtue of the fact that they're agreeing to it, something is wrong. Like, I know that. But anyway, that was just something that meant a lot to me as a kid. Maybe my dad, I don't know. It was probably connected to my dad, but that was very much something that I wanted.
Aw. That means a lot there. Can I ask you a question? This is off of our list, but what was your favorite classic car?
What was my what?
Your favorite classic car?
The Mustang.
Oh yeah, that's like everybody's car. Like
yeah,
everybody wants that car. It's just so beautiful. Like just the lines on the side of it, and just the vision of taking that roof down and having your wind blow. Like
I just like how fast it goes.
Danielle, let me find out you want to get a classic Stang.
So
like the way you describe that sounds to me like
little known
like
fact.
Imagine yourself and like
I could see. Yeah, my
out
hair
there
blowing
with your
back.
hair blowing in the wind.
You have it like that, you can really blow
Yeah.
Wow.
I did just think of another little known fact about me that is very embarrassing, but I'm going to admit it to you guys. And maybe you'll relate to it and maybe you won't. But I thought of this actually today, and I didn't think of it so much as an LKF, as we call them on our show. But you know when somebody butt dials you?
Yeah.
And it is very apparent immediately that the message you are listening to was not meant to be left, right? Like all you hear is like the purse rustling and the phone and their footsteps and maybe like a little bit of like garbled, hard to understand, like someone online at the grocery store.
Right.
It's absolutely not. I will listen to the entire thing.
Because you have
Don't
to.
feel bad.
You must.
I will too.
But you don't know what's about to come up.
Anything could happen. You could be an accessory to murder. You have to listen.
I agree, and that's the reason why we listen to
You
it.
have to.
What a wait! Like that is 3 minutes, sometimes longer, of my life.
But you're staying on.
Invested.
10, 15 minutes. Just
Oh my
set the
God.
phone down.
You have to.
Go about
So
your
do
business.
all
but
women
just,
do that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely listen.
I feel like I'm waiting either to hear something I shouldn't be hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
I never thought of the like accessory to murder thing, but yeah, for sure. But I feel like, maybe they're going to say something about me to the
Exactly.
Yes.
Let me hear what they got to say.
to the grocery clerk. Like, and by the way, my friend Ilana. Like,
I knew it.
Because they're thinking of me right now.
Right now.
That's why they're
Your
I
fine.
butt
know.
dialed me. Right,
That they're
exactly.
about to talk about me. I just know it. If I just hold on a few seconds longer, I know I'm going to hear my name.
totally. Anyway, so that's embarrassing, but it's just true, and I think it says a lot about me.
You know what? You're not
I think
alone.
about all of us.
You're not alone in that.
You're hilarious.
What was your first acting job?
My first acting job was I played it's called an under 5 in soap opera land. And if you have 5 lines or less, you've been cast as an under 5. And I was cast as a nurse on All My Children.
Oh my God, my
which
favorite
is
show.
Such a huge thing because I used to watch that show, with my friends. And Erica Kane was in the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's Susan Lucci, ladies and gentlemen. And I was hired and I had to take her pulse.
Oh.
And I was so nervous and excited. I wish this was, sometimes it's sad that it's just audio because the visual is so hilarious. I took her pulse on the wrong side of her wrist. If you are ever in need of medical attention, do not call me.
I might as well just
You know what,
die.
honey? You know what, sweetheart? I think if you turn my arm over,
she
it would be more and more convincing. And that was my first job.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
And Susan Lucci was like, honey, you're doing this wrong.
She was darling.
You're taking my pulse, right, sweetheart? So this is how we're going to do it. But the other truth thing is my name was Louise Serlin, and they would make up little fake, IDs, like nurse tags that you wore, and I took it home.
Oh.
Man,
So I was so excited. So I'm a little bit of a thief, and I'm sorry.
I love that show.
Yeah, that had to have
I
been
used
amazing.
to watch it with my mom all the time.
Me too.
I mean, I love Susan Lucci. Like, she's like the biggest bitch on that show, and I just love
She'd
it.
be like a dynasty chick. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like she always has channeled that. And I remember I was watching something and it said when her first episode aired and it was black and white and she was sitting in the cafe and she was supposed to be like an extra or like not a regular. She had like a few lines, but she made it work. She stuck it out and now she's like the queen of the show.
Maybe if I had taken her pulse right.
Right. Maybe if you had taken her pulse correctly,
I would have been the next
The next.
you
Susan
could have took
Lucci.
Yeah.
queen of Pine Valley. Pine
It
Valley
was a
queen.
disaster. It was a total disaster.
But that is such a good memory. Like, that's so funny to me. Like, that would be something that I would laugh at myself constantly.
Remember that time?
Remember that time
that you
that I
took the
took
pulse
Susan Lucci's
wrong.
pulse wrong? Like, I would love that.
And then I ran back in at the end of the day and I was like, Miss Lucci, here's a condom. I wanted to give it. Imagine if after everything, I have this condom. I want to give it to you.
Oh.
I feel like you need it. I know things
Well,
are
she
booming.
did.
Oh.
She had a lot of husbands on that show.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Like, she was Erica Kane, then Erica Carrington. Like, it kept going. Like, she
Yeah.
kept having all those names.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know a lot of people like that, by the way.
What?
Never mind, I'm kidding.
Alana, what are you afraid of?
Dying.
Okay.
Really? Why?
Everyone got all quiet.
Well, I mean, because like I'm not. I just feel it's
You're
a
not?
natural process. No, I'm not. It's gonna happen eventually. So why be scared of it? I mean, I don't-
You know what? Is that Jen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, are you serious?
I want to get to that place, and that is my life's work. I did not grow up in a Buddhist household, nor did I grow up in a Christian household where what happens afterwards is laid out for you in a very beautiful, glorious way. So it's actually something to look forward to, where you rejoin loved ones and you rejoin your God in a different way. Like, I've never had, in the Jewish tradition, it's sort of ashes to ashes, dust to dust, right? Like, it's all about living the best life you can because you go around once.
Yeah.
And so it's very much about living every day, living the right way and doing the right thing and with empathy and kindness and really do unto others, which is, I think, a really great way to live. Even if you are coming back 12 times, to do it right each time is a great thing, or to have that be your goal. But in the Jewish tradition, there really isn't a story for what happens next. And so I grapple with it, and I do read, lots of other religious texts, and I talk to people and how they've grown up and what their religious background is and where their faith lands them. I haven't kind of come to terms with what that story is. And I think it's different. I have young children still, so obviously so much of it is about imagining not so much my own mortality, but what it would be like for them without me.
Right.
Yes.
And also, my parents are still alive. They're both in their 80s. They are so young and vital still. So I'm under this false illusion that, like, oh, look, they're going to be the first two people who really never die. Like, that's incredible. Like, I just feel there's something about having parents who've lived a long time that is actually gives you this false sense of security.
Right.
And so I think a lot about it and I grapple with it. And I know this is, not a funny, happy answer, but that is I didn't prepare any answers, and that is what
No,
popped
it's
into my
fine.
head.
We like this. No, I think, like you said, my mom, it's funny because I worry about my mom dying.
You do?
Yeah, I do. And me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to die one day. It's okay. So it's weird. It's funny that she says that she's concerned about her parents, and she's like, my parents are going to be really old, 110 years old, and they'll be okay and I'll be okay. And I don't see it like that. Like, I worry about my mom.
You should really like when we get off, we'll hook you up with Fernando.
Yes.
Because we actually
And that's what I was just going to say is that I don't feel that concern for my mom because my dad already passed. So I'm like, I know, like, you have to move on and things are going to be okay. And, like, everyone has to be okay without you. And I just had a mediumship with Fernando, Ilana, so you can get in touch with Fernando. He's wonderful. But I feel okay. I feel so much better. And, like death isn't scary to me.
No, I think that my curiosity with death was just kind of like, what are things like over there? Like, I never really thought that this is the end. Like, I kind of think about it in terms of, like, what do we transform into? Like, I don't necessarily think that, we just die and we're in the ground and that's it. Like, I mean, I believe in reincarnation and, what am I thinking of?
Coming back.
What is reincarnation? I can't remember what I was trying to say, but yeah, like, I think that everything sort of turns into something else. Like, I don't think that we just are here and that's it. Like, I think that we continue to learn and we grow, like, with each life and stuff. Like, I think
and that's exactly what Fernie says too about what it's like on the other side.
I think I was just, like, really curious about, like, when we're over there. Well, my curiosity is when we're over there, if everything is so great and everything is so loving, like,
why would you want
to come here? Like,
what do you need to learn?
Why can't we stay
What's
there?
the thought that says, oh, you know what? Let me go down there and see what's going on. Like, I'm in a loving environment. I'm with Jesus. Like,
I think it's just like he said. Like, you have things that you didn't quite accomplish or you didn't learn all the way. Like, I think when you stop coming back is when you kind of reach this mecca of knowledge and you're in your full knowledge and you're knowing everything and not like God, but like
an oracle,
like where you no longer well, I guess, but where you no longer have to say, damn, I fucked that up. You know what I mean? Like, like you know better, you do better. So you don't have to come back anymore because you're already doing better.
Right. You're enlightened. You've come to this place of like enlightenment.
Yeah,
pretty
much.
I don't know what I want to come back as next, though. I need to pray on that.
You'll decide when you get over there. Hopefully, we don't have to. Like, maybe we'll be done.
We'll be done?
I don't know about me, but.
All right, so listening to Dominic's episode, he mentioned being miserable and depressed at the thought of taking the LSAT. It made me think of how when you're miserable and depressed, it's because you're kind of on the wrong path and you're not really doing what you're meant to be doing. That comment was like a simple aha moment. So, like, how did you realize that acting was your passion?
It's funny. So many of the things that happened to me in my life were born out of a guy, like loving a guy or having a crush on a guy, right? Yeah. So I was on a very different career path, and then I met this guy who I thought was adorable, and he took me to an acting class with him, and I just went because I had a crush on him. And I would say within like a month, he was no longer in that acting class, and I felt like, oh my God, these are my people. This is a community. I felt like I had found, we were just talking about religion. I had found my church. I had found a place that I felt completely myself. I met a teacher who just was an extraordinary woman who the way she talked about life and the way she talked about theater and the way she told stories, I just thought, wow, I just want to keep studying with this person. So it really was a lark. Like, I went in because I was kind of on a date. And I ended up finding a career, and I got very lucky. I got a really great job, like very young. I was on an HBO series that I just happened to luck into. Really, I met this director named Robert Altman, who was a huge fancy director, and was kind of looking for young people to be on this political satire series that was written by Gary Trudeau, the Doonesbury cartoon, like from the newspaper. You guys know him?
Yeah.
And I feel like it chose me. Yeah. I was open, and I was either going to sell cars or
or pass out condoms. One of the two.
Right. I do think about working at like Planned Parenthood or something. I think that was what was.
Oh my God, they would love you there.
Yeah, I just met some extraordinary people early on in my life who became teachers and mentors. And I don't know that I set out to do it like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It was more, this is what I want to do right now. And I was very fortunate to go from job to job for a long time.
Okay, so that leads us to our panel discussion. Let's talk about following your dreams. So that kind of came to you, like you said, it chose you.
I think you have to kind of like be open to it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'll say that career-wise for me, like, I was actually at a point where I was out of work and I needed a job. Like, I was on unemployment, and a lady called me and she was like, hey, I need you to come do this job here. And it was at a freight forwarding company, and it was doing logistics work, and I was just like, really? Like, I don't know anything about this stuff. You know, she was like, yeah, just go in. Like, you're going to be great. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. You pick up quick, right? Like, you can learn. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you know, just
take some
swing
notes,
it.
whatever.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Like, you know, so, and I actually liked it. Mm-hmm. I had no idea about that world and what all it meant, but once I got there, like, I was open to it. She said, you know, hey, you can do it. Okay, so she says I can do it. Of course I can do this shit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, kind of need a little bit of validation there and believing in yourself, but being open to it made me realize that, hey, you know, this is something that I can do, you know, and it's led me down a path in logistics to kind of like where I am now, because it made me realize that I like project stuff. Mm-hmm. And this podcast is like a project, like, seriously.
Yeah.
You know, like, I came to realize that I like small projects, though. Like, I don't like, I like stuff to be kind of ever changing. And with this podcast, it's ever freaking changing, like, on a day-to-day basis. So I think that you have to sort of just be open to going down that road to the unknown, because a lot of people are scared of the unknown. So, like, what am I going to do when I'm here? You know, like, what does this mean? Do I have XYZ planned out? I need to know what steps 5, 6, 7 are. Like, am I going to have that? And you kind of just got to be open to it and just say, hey, you know what? Let me jump in and just take one step.
See, that is...
You know, it's so funny that you say that, because when this podcast thing came up, I had just said to a friend, I'm going to say yes to everything that comes my way right now, really? As long as it's not dangerous to me or my family, right? Like, within reason. And when my friend approached me at, like, a cocktail party saying, hey, this is kind of crazy, do you want to do a podcast? My instinct was like, no, I'm not a podcast host, right? Like, that was fine. And then I remembered that I just said, I'm going to say yes to anything that isn't dangerous to me or the people I love. And the worst thing that happens is I'm not a podcast host, right? Like, that would be the worst thing. He wasn't asking me to put up a lot of money to try this venture that would put my family in financial jeopardy. It was literally an experiential opportunity.
Right.
And I'm so happy I said yes. Look, I'm talking to 3 remarkable women right now, just a few months later, who live in Houston, right? Like, who have a completely different life from me. And I never would have met you and all of the incredible people that have come into my life because of Twitter or,
I know.
Lana, you're about to make me cry.
Support communities. Like, it's a really beautiful thing. And I think sometimes, like, when you start something for very pure reasons, not for monetary gain or ego, but, like, I feel like I have some great stories I want to share and people that I'm so proud of. And I'm so proud of all the people who come on my show. I have 2 criteria. They have to be kind and talented. That's it. They don't have to be the most famous. But just kind and talented. And I feel so proud that I'm getting to share these remarkable artists with the world. And I feel so lucky that I keep meeting these genuinely remarkable people like you. I just feel really lucky.
Thank you, Ilana.
But I have to ask you, and I know I'm not a host right now, I'm the guest, but I am dying to know how you guys know each other and how this podcast came to fruition. I've just been dying to know.
Okay, so we know each other because we joined a social group, all of us. And actually, Danielle and I went to college together. And I just remembered that many, many months ago, we were laughing about something, and Jen said, we should record our conversation. And I said, we could totally do a podcast.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing a podcast, because
we always were talking and saying funny stuff and sharing the stories that were happening to each other on a daily basis, and we would crack up at each other, and then we were like, you know what? Let's just put it out there so every single woman also knows that they're as crazy as we are, I guess.
I'm not crazy.
Oh, okay.
So first of all, I'm sane as fuck.
Okay. But we're giving people something they can listen to and relate to, and also giving men an insight into what women talk about, because they totally are clueless. They're clueless.
But also on your show, when you give men a platform, when you ask men, I've listened to some of your episodes where you ask men the questions that we want to know about how they think. And I feel like we're always so busy telling them how to think or telling them how we think. But when you break it down and really try to understand how they were raised and how that affects them in terms of how they are in the world, and in small ways shifting these preconceived ideas of who we have to be, I just find it remarkable how deep you get so quickly with these people. It's really
it's hard. Reporting.
It's funny too, but it's kind of like great the way you get these men to talk about themselves in ways that I don't think they're used to.
You know what? And you're absolutely right. That was like, the podcast that we did with
the Why Not Sports.
Yes. I don't think they were prepared for the questions. I don't think they were prepared for Michelle. And I think they were like,
she nodded. What the
hell? Well, because, they're not, it's men that they normally talk to. So when a woman comes and they're like, hey, why you didn't do this? It was like he was caught off guard.
Yeah.
So
But very open. They were really open about like how their moms or dads raised them, how that affects. You guys talked a lot about like when your kid falls, when your son falls versus when your daughter falls, and this whole idea of pick yourself up and wipe yourself off and don't cry, and actually you as mothers had a similar philosophy, right?
Yes,
it wasn't necessarily a male-female thing. It was what you're comfortable with.
Right.
But I just found it really interesting listening. I encourage your listeners to listen to that episode if they haven't done so yet, because it was really eye-opening and it was very compelling.
Alana, you are making me grab my chest in a way that symbolizes that I might cry.
So I'm going to have to hear this all fucking week now.
I'm going to be like Alana said our episode was so good.
Oh, my God. Did you hear her? Do I need to
replay
Alana
the way she talked about that?
Oh, my God. She's going to be like, she's going to make a GIF. An audio GIF.
Well,
did you hear
you guys, I had a really emotional experience this week. I talked to Fernando, and he was able to kind of bring my dad through in the mediumship, and it was really special to me. And I did talk about my dad in that episode and how he was very hard. And it was interesting to me that even in the mediumship, he still was a hard ass. I'm like, you're totally dead. Not
you're
here.
Totally dead.
But you're still like, I don't know. You better not cry. But, I don't know. It was totally important to me, but I feel so much better.
This is what we should name the episode. You're totally dead.
You're totally dead.
Just that
you're
one
totally
line.
dead. And
you're totally dead, and you're totally still being a hard ass.
But, I have a friend who's studying to be a Buddhist monk, actually, and he was saying that we, in our society, in American society in particular, we give this, like, all feelings are exactly the same. Sad, happy, they're just feelings. And we somehow give this power, like the idea of crying is bad and laughing is good. Right? Like we attach, it's like we give a number system.
Right.
Instantly, like a laughing is 10 and crying is 0, or some idea about what is appropriate feelings to have or inappropriate. And I'm butchering what he was saying so beautifully. I'm not studying to be a Buddhist monk, but I do feel like by attaching more power to one feeling than another, I mean, it's very hard to live a balanced life where it's just a feeling.
Right.
But this idea, like, it's really bad to, why are you crying, man? Like, I feel like the more we can stop perpetuating this idea of one type of being better than another or seeming stronger, because really at the end of the day, someone with access to their feelings, all of them,
is so important.
and someone with access to their entire selves and self-knowledge and accountability and self-awareness, that's a fully realized human being.
Yeah, right.
And if something hurts and you cry, that's okay.
Right.
And if you're someone who doesn't cry, that's okay. You know, we're often looking for people in our lives to show emotion if that's not their comfort zone. And we want some people to show less emotion because they are way too, like, if we could just let everybody just be who they are and respect that. But there's a lot of work to be done in terms of letting go of this idea of what it means to be strong for men and women. Yeah. I feel like a movie will end and I will have been sobbing or play, and I'm trying so hard before the lights come up to make it look like I wasn't crying.
Right.
Like, get myself together.
I do that also.
Like,
My eyes were
especially with my
sweating.
kids. Are you crying?
Part of it is vanity, right? Like, there's crying and pretty, you know, in the movies, everyone's so pretty when they cry. Like, no one, but in real life, your eyes are red and your nose is running and you're puffy. It's not pretty.
Oh, I feel so triggered because I cry all the time. I was crying at my desk at work last week, and I was trying to be quiet because I didn't want my coworkers to hear me. And I went to the bathroom, and I was like, I'm puffy. They're going to know I cried. So I totally resonate. This totally resonates.
They're going to know I cried.
Yes. And I went back to my desk, and I was like, I hope no one asked me if I cried. Like, that's all I could think about. Not, like, the emotions I was feeling or anything.
Right. But also you rob someone, you know, it feels so good to be helpful and to be needed. Like, my greatest pleasure is being needed. Right? And to be able to give of myself. And you rob somebody of an opportunity to be helpful by hiding your tears. You might have given them the gift of being able to feel good about themselves because they were able to make Michel feel better.
You know
right?
what, Ilana?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do.
I know.
And so what's going to happen now from now on is when
she's going to call everybody when she cries.
I'm going to go out into the middle of the street. And I'm going to raise my arms in the air, and I'm going to wait for someone to come and help me because I cried enough to help several people feel needed a week.
She's going to be like,
you're going to be like, who wants to feel better right now?
Who needs a pick-me-up because I am about to cry. I'm almost there. Come closer. Yes.
You're going to have like the MK fit. Like,
yes. My daughter is a crier also. I've birthed a clone of myself, basically. And I'm very frustrated with her because she's a clone of me. So I'm like, oh my God, you don't do anything I say, and all you do is cry. And so
how old is she, Michelle?
She's 4. So I think it was last night. Okay, last night she wanted to cut up slices of cheese. So basically she was wasting cheese. So she's wasting cheese, but I turn around and she has a steak knife.
Oh, God.
And she's like, look, Mommy, I'm cooking. And I said, well, you can't use that because you're going to cut your finger. And I took the knife and she went and stood in the corner and howled. She was howling. She was crying so loud. She's like, ah. And I'm like, you're going to cut your finger off. Like, fuck
like,
that.
She's like, no, I want the knife.
I want the knife.
She's like Eddie Murphy. What was the movie? I can't think of the movie with the child. I want the knife.
Oh, The Golden Child.
The Golden Child.
Okay, so the Golden Child and like what we're talking about kind of leads me to an experiment we're all going to do.
Yes.
We're going to do an experiment where we're all going to do something that we're afraid of. And okay, it's going to be a segment called Between Us Girls Gets Fearless.
Yes.
So I'm going to let them go first because I'm still trying to decide between 2. Did you choose yours?
Yes, I chose mine. Okay, so my fear is, I guess, being rejected.
Okay.
So to test this out, I'm going to get dressed up and I'm going to go to a bar alone and I'm going to try to pick up a guy.
Okay.
Going to report back on this. I'm really nervous right now as I speak. I have never attempted to pick a guy up, and I haven't even thought this out. Like, am I going to actually, like, take him somewhere? Like, I don't know.
Bring a condom.
Bring a condom. Bring two. I'll bring two.
Oh. Double time?
Double time. Wait.
Or you're going to have two guys?
Wait. Oh.
What?
You're not sure yet?
Michel.
No,
She
not
said two condoms.
I don't. No,
Oh.
not double penetration.
No.
Let's not go there.
No. One at a time.
One.
Like a lemonade or whatever.
Like a lemonade?
Yeah,
Oh,
like where
okay.
you like have
Oh my
one guy at a time.
Maybe.
Well, you
Limited.
better give your friends. I want you to tell them where you're going to be. We want to make sure you're safe.
Alana's like, I want to know what time
What
you're
time
going.
we going?
What day you're going and who you're going with. Give me his initials at least.
We want you to be safe.
Right.
I mean, it is. She's right. She's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it is.
But is the goal what's the ultimate goal? Like just to see if you can meet someone, or you want to
well, I
go
guess
home with someone?
I need to like get his number at least, and
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe not like bed him for the night.
Why do you keep
I don't know
saying
why
that?
I keep saying it. I like
Bed.
that. I like that phrase.
Bed him.
That's so Pride and Prejudice or
I like
that era.
Like I like bed for the night. I like that. What? I don't know. I don't know.
Wow.
You're such a Victorian whore right now.
I know. Possibly.
Her previous
A
life.
little bit whorish. A little whorish. Okay. I guess just get his number. I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
But really, the ultimate goal is for you to face that fear of rejection, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Jency, what about you?
I think mine is karaoke. I know you're the queen of... Okay, so she is the queen of karaoke. I wish I had... And I do. I think I still have it on Facebook. We went out one time and you... Was it Boondocks?
No. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yes. I went to-
Boondocks.
Okay.
And she just... I mean, all of us, we were all amazed because she did so great. What did you say? Her favorite?
Amy
I cheated
Winehouse.
myself.
So she
like
loves
I
Amy
knew
Winehouse. And she did so great. So I look at her and I admire her because she's so...
She's fearless in that.
Yes,
in that
she's fearless.
aspect.
She doesn't... It's like it doesn't matter who's there. She is going to attack it no matter what. So I want to be like that. I want to be able to actually... do karaoke one day. I might have to close my eyes because I don't want no one looking at me, but I know they are. But I just want to get to that point where I'm really comfortable with, you know,
Being in front of
being in
people,
front of
strangers.
everyone.
So you're just gonna get up there. You're gonna kill it. You know your song already? No.
You can practice.
Yeah.
I'll be in the mirror, man.
You know what my daughter told me? She said, "Why don't you do Selena?" I said, "Why? Because I'm Hispanic."
Right. You can say whatever you want to say. But I'm going to tell you that my cousin, he always turns around and faces the screen where the words
Okay.
show. So he doesn't have to look at the people. He doesn't look at the people. He looks at
look
the
at
words.
the people.
See, but that's the thing. I want to get to that point where I can look at people out in the audience and be like, okay, I'm not going to turn red like a tomato, and I'm not going to forget what I'm saying, and I'm going to be like Michelle and just go for it.
You know what, Jen? That really makes me feel some type of way that you want to be like me on stage.
I didn't say all that.
So-
I said...
I know. Hair flip.
God, the whole week.
It does make me feel some type of way because
I didn't mean to do this to you. I know she's going to be...
No, but this is what I'm going to say though. But I'm actually nervous because I usually get a little burning in my stomach.
Do you?
Yeah.
I just don't
And
see that in
I'm
you.
very nervous, but I'm like, I love to sing. I may not sound that good, but I love to do it. So that's what my thing is. You remember Mac said, "Oh, I think you want to get on a record."
Oh, you gonna do that?
I'm gonna get on.
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
God,
sing.
that's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
sing a
great.
song, and I'm gonna try to record it.
You gonna try to record the song?
You going to put it on YouTube?
I don't know. I just want to.
I mean, I
record
think
the
I'd
song.
put your video on YouTube.
Oh God. I just want to record a song.
You gonna record a song?
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
And I mean, and I'm not gonna try to do practice or do vocal training or anything because I want it to be as authentic as possible. I want it to be just me, really, really trying. Because I usually like to play around a little bit, or when I sing on here, I'm like, I want it to be serious. So that's what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we're going to report back to you guys in, 2 weeks about it? Okay, how was the wine? You guys like it?
I did. It is very summerish, and it's like a crisp. Oh my god!
We told you.
It's like a crispy. It's very crisp flavor.
Yeah, I like it. I actually like it.
You like it?
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
It was actually only $16.99 at Total Wine.
Oh, that's good. That's a good deal.
Yeah,
It
it's pretty good.
is.
It was well balanced. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the balance. It didn't have much of an aroma to it. I will give it a 20.
Okay. I'm just gonna give it a 25 because it was $16.99, and that's always a win whenever you can get a good wine for a good price. So
I'll give it a 24, and I think it's just because there's some really
Gee,
what? There's no
a
aroma.
24.
Yes,
Like,
a
just-
24.
We are so trifling. We just make up numbers.
Well,
I
look,
love it.
Y'all
it's
know the
either
scale.
is it good or not? No, it was good.
Is it good or no?
That's how it should go. Actually, I really do like it. I love the bottle. It is so beautiful.
Did you take a picture?
Oh.
Yeah, I did. I took a picture.
Because I'm like, I'm about to finish it. What?
I did. I took a picture of it already. It's just so pretty, and it's really good. It's really fresh. Like, I think you can pretty much drink it all year round. For those that like really crisp,
It's light.
it's
Yes.
light.
It's really light.
I really,
Yeah.
really do like it.
It is. It's just like summer.
Yeah.
Well, summer's not light over here, by the way. We
Oh,
get to 100 degrees or more.
Snow does.
But like in the summertime, you want something light and airy to like kind of cool down.
Right.
Like,
True, very
like that.
true. Yeah,
you
so
can
no,
put
I,
in your
I
flask
really,
and
really do
wear it
like
with
it.
your
This was
sundress.
excellent. Thank you so much.
I'm kidding.
I forgot to tell you that my favorite thing to eat with that elegant, beautiful bottle of wine, Cheez-Its.
Jesus.
Yes.
I can see that.
I'm telling you,
Wow.
go to the beach with Whispering Angel and a box of Cheez-Its and you will be in heaven.
Oh,
And you're
wow.
done.
That
Great
sounds totally
idea.
realistic,
And
I'm
too.
gonna do that
and I
tomorrow.
will toast to you and you toast to me, and that will be our little Whispering Angel moment wherever we are. It's like when people are looking at the moon in two different places across the country.
When we're eating Cheez-Its and drinking Whispering Angel at the beach.
You'll think
If
of
you saw
me,
Galveston,
yes.
you'd be like, oh, that's the only beach we
Anna.
have here.
Yeah.
Between us girls. Anyway, I've had the loveliest time drinking with you and getting to know you, and I really thank you for having me on your podcast. I think you're amazing women.
Oh, thank you. You
Thank
are
you.
most welcome, and we thank you for coming on our show.
You're amazing. You have this great aura about you.
Right.
I mean, it's like she said, it's just this motherly thing
It's
that
like a
you
free
have.
spirit.
Jen's coming to New
Yes.
York, and she's gonna hug you. And
I'm
she's
gonna hug
lay your
you,
head
and
in
I'm
her
gonna be
bosom.
like, I just love you.
Yeah. But when I go to New York, I'm gonna be like, remember you said.
All right. Let's
So, like, what's your address? I'm on my way.
no.
Okay, yeah, no, just kidding.
Okay.
But I'm serious. Okay, so can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so first of all, the podcast is on iTunes and everywhere that you listen to podcasts, but you can learn more about me and my guests and hear all of the episodes on littleknownfactspodcast.com, and follow me on Twitter at Ilana Levine. Facebook is Little Known Facts Podcast, and Instagram is Little Known Facts Podcast. But if you're following Between Us Girls, you'll find me because we're writing to each other all the time on social media, sharing our love for each other. So I'm easy to find if you're a Between Us Girls listener.
The love is big.
Okay.
The love is very big.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Ilana.
Thank you.
And
Bye.
bye. Oh, she was so respectable. I enjoyed her. If you are listening to us, you can listen to us some more on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Social media, Facebook, Between Us Girls, the podcast. Instagram, Between Us Girls podcast. Twitter, @Girl Talkin' Wine. And we're signing off this week.
Oh my God, stop.
In my Ilana voice.
No, you actually kind of sound like William Shatner.
I love William fucking Shatner.
He sounded like William Shatner.
I love William Shatner. I love the shit out of William Shatner.
Oh my God, bring it down a notch. Bring it all the way down.
When we release this episode, I'm adding him on Twitter. I want him to hear it. Danielle, send us off.
Before I send us off, I'm going to ask for everybody to go out and leave us a review on iTunes. With that being said, bye.
Thank you for joining us on Between Us Girls. But don't keep it a secret. Listen and share with everyone you know. See you next week.